Hello, Maeya TV. Welcome back. I'm Jessica Haro, and I'm here with
George Sarah.
He's a composer. He's done a lot of work. If you've seen TV anytime in the last 20 years, you have probably heard his work. So, George, thank you so much for being here with us.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me down.
So, tell us about your work.
Well, it is electronic based. However, I use a lot of acoustic instruments and voices. I've done a lot of different kinds of music. However, I would say where I'm at right now is considered more on the neoclassical side. And I've been on tour performing a silent film that I scored called The Passion of Joan of Arc. And it's myself, electronics, synthesizers, string quartet, and an early music style choir. And what I mean by early music is like, I'm sure people are familiar with Gregorian chant, like Latin text, straight tone singing. And so we're performing that Saturday, May 10th at the Sierra Madre Playhouse in Sierra Madre. So that's what, I guess that's what I'm doing right now.
So, George, how did you get involved in music?
Oh, well, it started when I was 6 years old. My parents took me to the Hollywood Bowl, and I saw Arthur Fiedler and the Boston Pops, and I couldn't really grasp the enormity of it. I just knew that I wanted to be a part of it somehow. And at that time, my older brother was listening to a lot of Beatles and Elton John, so I was listening to music a lot, and I just loved music. And as I got older, I kind of found my own niche in the kinds of music that I liked, and I got really into David Bowie, a lot of the goth bands in the 80s, and I started playing piano at 10, but I switched instruments to bass guitar when I was 12, and I formed my own band with my middle school mates, and we started playing weekend parties, and then in high school we were writing our own songs, and I was fortunate enough to see a lot of bands perform at my high school back in those days, like the Go-Go's played at my high school, and Oingo Boingo, and Walla Voodoo, and I was exposed to bands playing with drum machines and things like that, and keyboards, so it really inspired me to experiment outside of rock music, and yeah, that's how it kind of started, and I just sort of every few years I like to delve into a different genre, and I was doing a lot of electronic dance music for a while. Then I got into doing a lot of string quartets. I got into really heavy industrial music for a while, and just wherever I felt like I wanted to explore. And I've even done Americana acoustic music with a film I scored a few years ago that's streaming now on Amazon Prime and Paramount Plus called Her Name Was Joe, and that's pedal steel guitars, acoustic guitars and stuff, but I wrote all the music and worked with different musicians, so I like to challenge myself always as well.
Now, your big break was you appeared on a very popular late 90s TV show.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, the show is called Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and one of the writers, Marty Noxon, was listening to my music while working, and she just thought it'd be a great idea to have a female werewolf character also have a band, right? And because that's what werewolves do when they're not killing people.
Yes, that is what they do.
They post an ad on Craigslist looking for guitars and keyboard players. So my music, and I appeared on several episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and they also used my music on their spin-off show The Angel, and they also called me back to work on a wedding episode called Hell's Bells with string quartet, and I also did a record with one of the actors, Anthony Stewart Head, who plays Giles on the show. We met and we ended up doing an album together, and it's not a Buffy album, but a lot of the cast members lent their voices because Anthony, we would go on set and just during downtime be like, hey, this is what I'm working on, and James Marsters is a musician, and Amber Benson, and all these people, Allison Halligan, they all contributed in some way, their voice, backing singing. And Josh Whedon, the creator of Buffy, heard about it, and of course he's a musician. He wrote an entire musical episode. He had a song that he was like, "Hey, would you guys be interested in covering this for your album? I mean, like, I'll give it to you. It's not like," and we're like, "Sure." So even he contributed a song. So it's not a Buffy album, but if you look in the liner notes, you'll be like, "Okay, wait a minute, what's going on here?" And it's called Music for Elevators. It's Anthony Stewart Head and George Sarah, and it's still available on CD and streaming. You can find it anywhere.
So what was it like to work with Anthony Head?
Really cool. He's very professional. After working with him and a lot of the actors who were like coming in to sing and whatnot, it was an incredible, like, I saw like their work ethic, and it was really cool because I'm used to working with musicians who are like, after 20 minutes they need a break or something, they want to go smoke, or like, it's just kind of, they're late. But with actors, they're on time and they work until it's done before they take any, so it was like a really, like this disciplined work ethic. Obviously they're professional actors, right? They have agents and they're on set, so they have to, they got to go by those rules. And I think, so it was really cool. We ended up coming with about 25 ideas, but we used maybe 16, and it's 16 on the final version of the album. It was a great experience, and I also had other musicians guest on there. This guy Jay Bellarose played drums, who also works a lot with Alison Krauss, and just various different people. So it was that was the whole idea, was let's make a record, but let's invite our friends to come into the studio and contribute here and there. But Anthony and I wrote the songs, and we both played majority instruments and had guest musicians and singers. So yeah, it was a good experience.
And from there, your music was licensed for a lot of other TV shows.
Yeah, I licensed a lot of music to CSI New York, Jenny Rivera, NHL on NBC, and about 100 credits by now. A lot of it is smaller, documentary style stuff. But as I racked my brain, like I had totally forgotten a bunch of my music got used on an HBO documentary called Addiction, and the way they used it was they weaved the music in and out of the episode, and like at the ending they used it for the montage scene and stuff, and it was like really cool. It's like it's almost like is composing, except that instead of me doing work for the studios, I feel like the studios are working for me, because I give them the finished track and then they have to edit to it. And I also did some work for the Chris Rock show, Everybody Hates Chris, and there's a lot of credits. Oprah Winfrey show had a song of mine appear in one of their episodes, so it's just been a lot of different stuff. Yeah.
So, what is the process of licensing music for TV like?
I prefer that. Sometimes the budget for a song can be more than what they would pay a composer to do an entire episode, which should be the other way around. But I think because the song is already completed, it's finished, and it's already out there, they have to negotiate with you. As a composer, they can say, well, the music isn't written, we're just going to pay you to write music. So they usually, you get a licensing fee, and then you collect residuals from that. And in my case, with the majority of my music, I own the publishing and the writing, because I have a home studio and I can play most of the instruments by myself. That it's you get upfront money and back end money, and as long as the series continues to go, then you're doing okay. Like, I still get residuals for all the Chris Rock stuff and the Buffy stuff, CSI. So So it's been very helpful as a musician to have that passive income.
Now, you're also a composer,
Mm-hmm.
and you've done work on films, on documentaries, and even the Beijing Olympics.
Yes. So in 2008, I was approached by Poetic Kinetic to do. They got commissioned to write a piece for the Beijing Olympics. There was around 30 composers, so everyone was doing different things, and they were approached and to come up with a 14-minute piece with marionette puppets, terracotta warriors, and various a giant butterfly floating around. And Poetic Kinetics, they're the guys that do like the giant caterpillars, the giant astronauts that you've probably seen at Coachella floating around. They do a lot of like really incredible work. And so I did something for them, and it was performed by the Beijing Modern Dance Company, and it was part of the opening for the Beijing Olympics. However, our piece was also performed multiple times a day for free at Olympic Park in Beijing, China, for anyone who wanted to see it like 3 or 4 times a day during the 2 weeks the Olympics is going on. So it was cool that it was not just a part of the opening of the ceremonies, but it was performed, so a lot of people got to see it. And I was curious, and I looked it up on YouTube, and there was a lot of like Chinese news programs and stuff that I saw. I mean, I don't understand what they're saying, but like the Entertainment Tonight version of China did a whole feature on it. So
it's great.
Yeah.
So what was it like to work for that?
It was really cool. I intentionally stayed in Los Angeles because everyone went to China, and I know that I needed to have that separation because a lot of times when you're working on something, they will call you and say, we need some changes done immediately. And the fact that they couldn't always get a hold of me was nice. But I worked a lot, really closely with the choreographer, and it was pretty much a piece of music that just like expanded, and there was a lot of crescendos, a lot of breaks. So it was the main theme. So it was a lot of it was just more the arrangement. Once they got the main theme and the main parts, they kept, it was just like minor changes here and there. And I got a lot of creative freedom too, because obviously I was here, they couldn't. But they were like, look, we need you to do your thing. We're not musicians, and we trust you. They had seen me do a concert at the Getty Museum, so they knew my work, and they owned my CDs, so they were like fans. So by the time they asked me, it wasn't like an audition. They were like, hey, we are offering you this, and I said, sure, I'll go for it. So that was nice.
Now, in addition to that, you composed for features.
Yeah, her name is Joe Ice Cage was another one. It's a horror movie that's streaming now on Amazon Prime. And Helena Hutchins, unfortunately, the woman who passed away from the Alec Baldwin incident, was a cinematographer. It looks beautiful, and it's a horror movie, and it's pretty graphic. So I'm just letting people know. But it's called Ice Cage. You can see it. I think it's for free if you have an Amazon account. I made that was really heavy industrial stuff, so kind of like an instrumental 9 Inch Nails record. And I did all the instruments on that. It was a lot of fun. When you're doing it, it's a lot of work. Like with a lot of concerts, there's like with the silent film, it's very stressful, and I enjoy it more after it's done and I reflect on it. And I was like, wow, that was a great experience. Like kind of like working out, right? It's you're pushing yourself, you're sweating, it's grueling, but then once you're done, you feel better, and you're like, and that's how scoring film is. Like you kind of like, it's like a lot of pressure and whatnot, but once you're done with it, it's like you reflect, and that's when I enjoy it. Yeah.
And now your current project kind of combines all these things. It's a film, but you're also performing live.
Yeah, so The Passionate Joan of Arc, it's a 1928 silent film by Carl Dreyer. It's a brilliant film. I mean, like, it's got like a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I was commissioned to write a score with Grand Performances. They're an organization in downtown LA that do free outdoor summer concerts. So so I pitched them the idea. I did a concert for them several years ago, and then they invited me back. And I said, I have a new idea. I just worked on this horror movie, and how about me doing a live silent, score to silent film? And they just were like, yeah, that sounds great. We have the infrastructure to do that. We have a giant screen and everything. So, yeah, I read Joan of Arc's biography by John Beevers, and once I read that, the music just came. I knew it had to be like elements from her period. The 15th century, it was the 1400s, and at that time it was like straight tone Gregorian chant is what the music was, and I incorporated that with strings, and then at the same time doing something modern, somewhere like I was really comfortable with, and that's like doing the electronic rhythms and stuff, very similar to the Beijing Olympics, combining really old ancient music with the new, and yeah, it was like very inspiring. It came very quickly, and originally it was going to be a one-time performance, and then once I performed it, I got requests to do it at other venues, and then after that I was like, I'm just curious if venues around the country would be interested. So a lot of film festivals, performing arts centers, colleges have invited me to perform all around the U.S.
So this is a film that it was made completely silent,
yes,
as films in that era were.
Yeah.
How is it different to compose for a silent film versus modern films that have audio, that have dialogue?
I prefer the silent movies. Yes, I
Really?
prefer. Yeah, it's just way better. Well, for one, this film is so good; it stands the test of time. You could see it now. I mean, the last time I performed it was at the Art Theater in Long Beach, and it was like the crowd was, a lot of college kids and stuff, and I mean they loved it, and the film, it's like there's certain films that are timeless, and like certain music is timeless, and it is one of those movies that is just really captivating. It's the last 2 hours of Joan of Arc's life, and it's really good, and I was just lucky. So I don't know if I can do a lot of silent films. I've seen several that I liked, but I was like, I don't know what I would do with this, or it just didn't feel right. With Joan of Arc, it's an exception to the rule. I don't know if I'll ever do another silent film. I mean, I'll do other films, but but I might, work in a different medium like opera or something like that. Or, I have a new song coming out next month, which is very like electro pop. Which is totally different, with female vocals, and I prefer the silent movies. I've done modern movies as well, but I prefer the moments where there's no dialogue, where it's just cinematography. I prefer that because I feel more inspired by like beauty than words.
Now, you've done large variety of genres. Is there a particular kind of music that you keep coming back to?
Yeah, I guess maybe well, there's so much classical music that I still have not discovered. It's like a huge hundreds and hundreds of years, right? But I love a lot of the modern classical music that I hear. Like I like Max Richter and Philip Glass. And like my favorite artist of all time, David Bowie, is gone. So, but like his catalog, I like everything he's done. I mean, I have my favorite albums, but I think mostly I love like when I hear new ambient music. Some of it is really really good. The Aphex Twin, and I like a lot of the shoegaze bands that are playing right now. A lot of post rock, like Explosions in the Sky. It's really really good. So I think and some of the new bands like Boy Harsher I really like, which is kind of like electronic, but it's also kind of goth influence. I really liked Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross's score for Challengers. I think that was really good. It's just all over the map, So I guess electronic. Maybe, right? Electronic, but not dance music. I wouldn't consider that. I mean, it has a beat and everything, but it's not like something that you would hear like at an EDM festival.
Now, where is your next performance going to be?
It'll be at the Sierra Madre Playhouse, Saturday, May 10th, in the city of Sierra Madre, which is just east of Pasadena. And the address is 87 West Sierra Madre. But you could also find all that information on my website, georgesarahmusic.com, or on any of my social media, like, George Sarah Music is my Instagram and Facebook. So yeah, that's the Passion Joan of Arc. They're going to show the film. I have a string quartet, I have a choir, and myself, and it's come out for a good time. It's all ages.
Do you have any last words of advice for composers?
Yeah, just do what you're doing and don't worry about following trends or anything. Because when I was a kid, and it was like during the height of hair metal in LA, right? It was like, and I had a synth and a drum machine, and people were like, you got to be listening to Guns N' Roses, dude. What are you doing? Like, hey, this is insane. I go, well, I like, this is what I like, and I don't care, So I would just say, don't worry about restricting yourself. I mean, do something that you really feel passionate about, no matter what it is. If it's like playing the ukulele, then do that. I mean, do it well, and you'll find an audience. It just look at it like you'll be the unique one, or the one that's ahead of the game, kind of thing. Don't worry about stuff, and yeah, just kind of like learn how to play a musical instrument, and less on the technology, because technology gets old. I hear stuff now and it sounds kind of old, but yeah, do what you feel is right.
So thank you so much, George, for being here on Maeya TV. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you, viewers, for watching. Keep an eye on this, because we will be back with more interviews. Bye.